Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
What is going on, Michael Panozzo?
I'm just wondering whether you calmed your ass down from yesterday or whether you're still like all wound up.
Man, let me tell you, I was pretty fired up for a good while. For a good while after the show.
Not a lot of people can keep me quiet for that long.
I didn't realize it, Mike. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to maybe
No, I was enjoying it. I was just along for the ride.
Maybe we should continue the conversation because I feel like you didn't get in a word edgewise. And
I just listened to everything you said and just kept saying ditto.
I usually gauge a show by one metric, and that is and it's been this way since the beginning, and that is if I feel like the hour goes by fast, then I'm liking it. You know what I mean? Then it's a good thing because you're not aware of awkward pauses in the conversation or things like that. And that hour flew by. So
it was like an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, it was interesting because I went back and watched it a little bit yesterday when I was going to the gym and stuff, and there was a lot of people with passionate opinions about it, and that's a good thing, when fans are passionate about it. So, yeah, here we go. I don't know.
So are we picking up where we left off? We're going to talk about pool.
I'll let you lead the way, Mike. I'm good with talking about pool maybe in a little bit, but I'm also, I like having good conversations about what happened yesterday too. So, what are you feeling?
Anything we talked about yesterday that you wanted to add to, or thought about that you thought, well, maybe
missed? No, I don't know about missed. In hindsight, I felt like maybe I was a little too passionate, ironically enough, about it. Which doesn't happen very often, but no, I mean, I think all things considered, I never try to, whenever we're doing a show, Mike, and this, whenever before we go live, it's I'm always telling you, just save it for the show, and so because I just love that raw, natural reaction of stuff, and so I don't prepare any, and I thought all in all, it went pretty good. I haven't talked to Josh or Alvin, Mike. I don't know if you have, but I'd imagine we didn't make any friends.
No, I haven't, and just my kind of take on it was just that. Listen, everybody needs to know that this whole thing is about saying one thing and doing another.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. If they had said nothing and played there, everybody would have been okay with it, just like they're okay with everybody else who played there, Mario, whoever. But coming out and saying one thing and doing another just is a bad look. And so, we don't, at least I don't wish them badly because of that. I just think that they handled things wrong. And a lot of people have really strong opinions about that. So, again, I'm really interested to see how the other players will treat them when they go to Hanoi, because that was the big talking point of the whole thing, right? We're all talking about Hanoi and the WPA and ACBS's efforts to queer that tournament, and at the very least to scare a lot of Asian and particularly Vietnamese players from participating. So we'll see what goes on there. I mean, the last I kind of linked up with people at Matchroom, they said that everything's going ahead full steam ahead. It looks pretty good. Players are signing up, whatever have signed up. So we'll see. We'll see when push comes to shove and it's go time. What Asian players particularly are conspicuous by their absence. So that's and again, how will Josh and Alvin be perceived when they get there? I don't think anybody's going to try to beat them up or snub them, but I just wonder if there's any players who are going to pull them aside and say, listen, not cool.
Well, me and you had very different opinions on that. So, as surprisingly, and I'm of the mindset that I don't think really anyone's going to give them any kind of issue, because I think everyone, for the most part, understands where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Maybe they wouldn't appreciate it, but I think at the end of the day, I bet you if none of this was public, more players would have rather have just played the tournament and let the situation figure it out amongst themselves. Like in other words, amongst the WPA and Matchroom and the ACBS. Like I don't think anybody wants to be that public face of any kind of position or political issues going on in the pool world or things like that. And I haven't asked anybody, but like I know, like if they're upset about it per se, but I know that there's a lot of players who just kind of like want this shit to be over. You know what I mean? And don't like everything going on, and they just, like I said yesterday, want to play pool. So
Right, right.
um,
They definitely want it to be over.
yeah.
And again, like we said yesterday, we'll find out a lot about what that means after Hanoi.
Do you, when I was watching a little bit back yesterday, Mike, you brought up an interesting point, and surprisingly, I cut you off, which I didn't mean to in the moment. But you mentioned like there was a question you brought up, and it was something along the lines of like something we don't talk about enough is why is this happening? Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And if you'd like to dive into that a little bit more, because that's a little touchy of a subject itself.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
it can be touchy because listen, we're not getting a lot of feedback from WPA. We're not getting a lot of feedback from Matchroom. I when the WPA came out with this idea of we're going to have a town meeting and online, and players are welcome to come in and ask about it. And I posted, I said, listen, I can tell you what's going to happen. They're going to get on there and let you say your piece, and then they're going to basically point the finger at Matchroom and saying, listen, we can't do any more than we're doing. We've told Matchroom we'll
right.
let them, we'll if they just let us sanction it, just for the sake of putting a stamp on it and getting all these other federations off your back, we won't ask anything in return. And that's what they claim at this moment, and they claim that Matchroom just won't budge. So they're trying to get the players essentially to go back to Matchroom and say, tell us why we can't work this out. Trying to get the players to do their arguing for them because they've kind of run into a stone wall. And now it's gotten there's lawyers involved from both Matchroom and WPA sides, so there really can't be any open discussions, right? Lawyers just tell you to just keep your mouth shut. So WPA is hoping that that the players will go to Matchroom and kind of put a little pressure on them to either help get this fixed or make their public statement. So and it's hard to. I'm not going to say it's hard to argue with it. It's a legitimate question, right? To say, why is this an immovable object? What makes this an immovable object from Matchroom's side? And I don't know that we've gotten that answer, have we?
From the Matchroom side, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? No,
You
we
feel like
haven't.
you have?
Well, no, and I mean, look, both of us have good enough relationships with both sides, I should say. Where
We'll see in an hour
well,
from now.
that was before we decided to go down this road.
Yeah, right.
Um, but no, I think that we what we're able to say publicly, right, in regards to things we find out versus the things that we've heard privately are very different. I think both of us can agree on that, from talking with everybody. And so, this has been going on long enough. I feel like, talking with Aishan in at the Rio in Vegas in February, Mike, they were already, shut down as far as being able to talk publicly. Then,
Yeah.
here we are in September. It's the same thing. And Matchroom, it's interesting because they'll put out statements when it's like I feel like their back's kind of against the wall when it comes to that press release maybe a month ago or so, Mike. You know what I mean? Because there was some, and again, we've heard that Hanoi is going to happen, that everything's a go, and I hope that that's the case. But like you heard that there was a strong possibility that that event may not go on at all. Which is why they
Well,
decided to go
even
down the
according to
road.
Josh, even according to Josh's post, that was what precipitated the whole meeting that they sat in on. They had their little kumbaya moment of solidarity. So that Hanoi was kind of in jeopardy, and it's time to amp up the pressure a little bit. So
Yeah, and I WPA has already come out publicly and said, "Hey, listen, we don't want any money. We're willing to, sanction all these events." And that was, I think, the last time we had them on, Mike, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like a lifetime ago, but
yeah,
basically on lines, we don't want any money. We'll sanction the events. In a nutshell, at least as far as I gathered, kind of calling like a bit of a truce here, Mike. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, okay, kind of all of this like public poker play, right? Of like calling your bluff and trying to make power moves, and um, it's really just continue to snowball at the expense of the players' opportunities.
right.
Um,
And that's
and
what we're
so,
always arguing about is the opportunities for the players. There's players that are missing opportunities because they're being pushed one way or the other. So that's what we're hoping gets rectified. Um, you know,
how do you think they get there, Mike?
well, listen,
You've been doing
you
this
can
long
look
enough.
at it. You can look at it a couple of ways. One, the argument is, if the argument on the WPA side is we don't want anything from you, just
Yeah.
let us sanction it, okay?
Uh,
Then why don't they just say that they're sanctioning it? I mean, they
WPA.
essentially, yeah, because they essentially did that in February when they said we're going to treat the rest of the year's events as sanctioned, right? And Matchroom said, "Well, thanks. We didn't ask you for that, and we have our own group. But if that's okay with you, it's okay with us. So why not
The
just carry it forward?"
WPNPC,
Yeah, right.
whatever,
So,
right?
so why couldn't the WPA just carry that forward and say, "Okay, we're whether they like it or not, we're sanctioning the World Nine Ball Tour events."
Like, just we're doing it, right? Like we're
Yeah,
just saying we.
basically they'd be saying we're going to let them be their own thing, and we're not going to hold them under the same restrictions that we hold everybody else. They could do that because they've done that already this year. Now, their argument would be, well, we did that with events that had already been previously sanctioned. That's just a rationalization. They can do what they want to do. So you could do something like that, and they could just say, we're recognizing the World Nine Ball Tour as a professional tour entity, and it doesn't require sanction, and the players can't be held responsible for playing. Now, the risk with doing that is that then you've got Predator and other promoters saying, well, we're just going to run our events non-sanctioned too. You can't play one side against the other, right? Now, all of a sudden, nobody sanctions with the WP anymore, and they're digging their own grave.
Yeah.
Right? So the other side of it is, could Matchroom say, okay, we'll accept your sanction, but we're not giving you anything for it, and we want you to acknowledge our WNT rankings as the World Nine Ball rankings. Okay? If it was as simple as that, what's the problem with saying okay?
Well, that's it. Basically, how this started, if I remember right. That it was they wanted the rankings to be acknowledged as the official rankings, and WPA wanted to include all
Yeah,
the
there
other events
was
that they were part of.
apparent,
I mean, this is a lifetime ago, obviously, but like
right.
yeah, I get what you're saying, Mike. Like if you're the WPA and if you're basically saying, okay, let us just do it. Is it just at this point they want to be acknowledged as sanctioning the events by Matchroom? It, like just say we're doing it. WPA saying to Matchroom, just say we're doing it. Let us be on whatever. Put a logo on a flyer, whatever, and uh, call it a day. Where Matchroom's just saying, hey, I don't want to. You do whatever you want to do. We're just doing our thing over here without you guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Basically, just like, agree to sleep in separate bedrooms.
That's a good metaphor there, Mike. Yeah. Yeah, but you're still married.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Still married, we'll
yeah,
sleep in separate bedrooms because divorce is too expensive.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. You know, something does have to give, though, Mike. You know,
Yeah, you
because
think?
like at this point, it's already been going on for well over a year now, but it seems to be not wanting to budge or loosen the grip on that specific territory. Because like some of the comments here in the chat, you know, a list of the events that were sanctioned by the WPA did not include Hanoi, and we all knew that was by design, right? They did not want to.
Yeah, and that's where they said their rationale for it was that Hanoi had not been a previously sanctioned event, and so we can't sanction it this year. But European Open and U.S. Open and UK Open were all sanctioned last year, so we're just going to continue to sanction them. Okay, that's the
Yeah, and so I don't see them getting back to the table anytime soon. I don't know about you, Mike. I haven't heard about any conversations that have been happening. Obviously, they were around each other in Saudi. You were out there. Did you hear about anything going on between the Matchroom and the WPA as far as like trying to get
no, it's
some form
just
of communication going?
yeah, no. I mean, I sat down with Ishan, who's the head, president of the WPA in Saudi Arabia as well, and he was just like, "Listen, it's kind of in lawyers' hands now. We can't do a hell of a lot more, but we're basically telling them, just let us sanction it, and we won't ask you for anything. So why won't they do that?" That was his question. So that's that's kind of where they're at right now. Is it? Listen, we can't do anymore. There's we can't give any more than we're giving because we're giving you everything if you want it.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
the main thing, and someone talked about ACBS got their bullshit in here, and here's the whole value of the WPA coming to some kind of agreement with Matchroom is that it takes the ACBS out, it takes the epbf out, it takes them out of play as far as issuing sanctions on players and promoters because their boss WPA has basically put out this blanket thing that these are sanctioned. Okay, so with them not sanctioned, now the WPA can't really tell epbf or ACBS what to do because they control their own continents. So to eliminate that part of the equation, the easiest thing is for the WPA to Matchroom to allow the WPA to just go ahead and sanction everything. Then the ACBS and epbf just have to shut up and let their players play.
oh, so you mean that in that case, then the EPBF and ACBS they can't have any issue with their
Correct.
players playing in
Correct.
Matchroom events, even though
Correct.
they're whether they're sanctioned or
Because
not
they'd be
sanctioned or
sanctioned.
whatever.
That's
Yeah.
they may argue that they should have more involvement in sending players to the World Champion stuff like that. But Matchroom's already got their deal in place for the the World Pool Championship 9-ball, and those that's already set in stone what allotments they can give out or will give out, and WP's already signed off on that, so that's not a deal breaker.
Yeah, they don't have that bargaining chip anymore, right?
Correct.
Because that deal's already signed and they have control over it now. I know that um, it seems to be like the only time when they get in the same room, at least these days. But yeah, I'm not with lawyers involved. This is where it gets tricky, and I think both of them at this point, at least to some extent, are trying to utilize the players to do their bidding publicly. When it comes to putting out these statements over the last few weeks, and then now the Josh and Albin situation of them going back and playing in the World 8-ball, and who knows the things that they were getting. I mean, we know what they said publicly. We don't know what went on behind the scenes, right? And so, but if you're both saying you're trying to essentially do the same thing, and there's got to be this like come to Jesus moment here between them, And I'm kind of, I hate to say it, Mike, but I'm kind of with you in the sense that like if you're the WPA and you're saying, hey, we don't want your money. We're willing to sanction all of your events. Can we just move on from this? Essentially. Um, then what's the issue here? You
Yeah,
know,
well, there would have to be a little bit more to the checklist than just that.
and I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Well, there would have to be in terms of, okay, WPA is going to have other events. They're going to have World 10 Ball events. They're going to have World 8 Ball events. They're going to have other promoters do
Right.
WPA events. They have to have some kind of assurance that the World 9 Ball Tour isn't just going to go step all over these events.
Do you think it's still a calendar issue? Because that was an issue
Well,
before.
the more promoters and the more events there are, the more the calendar becomes an issue. Period. It's always been that way. So the more tournaments there are, the more chances there's going to be that there's going to be conflict. And you just don't want purposeful conflict to screw somebody else over.
Are you insinuating that people in the pool world can be
I'm
petty, Mike?
insinuating. What I'm insinuating is that people on every side tend to be conspiracy theorists anytime anything happens. So it's hard to eliminate that, but you try to tone it down as much as you can.
Well, there's scar tissue there between that relationship, right? And that's the reason why they get that way on either side, because maybe one's been screwed over before in the past or whatever, and obviously that relationship is strained, clearly, but these guys, if you if none of this public bickering and bitching and line in the sand happens, these players are still going around and playing what they want to play when they want to play, and they're deciding on their own, and then now they're kind of being put in this lose-lose situation, at least to some extent for some of them, where we have like these guys, being you know the witch hunt here, you know what I mean, and they just want to go out there and play pool, play pool when they want, how they want. The calendar is a big issue. I feel like, because there are so many things going on. There's more promoters, surprisingly, because I didn't think they would get this many, promoters on board. But like, there's a lot of people across the world that are buying into the World Nine Ball Tour, who are wanting to say, hey, listen, we want to be part of what you got going on. And they're being rewarded in the sense that these players are showing up, Mike. They're going to Finland, they're going to,
Yeah,
Taipei, they're going
yeah,
to, wherever, what, they're
yeah.
going to Mexico and Colombia and, you know,
Seattle.
have you been to that room, Mike? I like Oxberries, but that place was small. I don't know how they're going to hold a big tournament there, you know, but they are all the, a lot of players are going to go over there, and it's they got to figure something out here because they can't continue, and you don't want one to lose star players. We saw it last year in Hanoi when guys like Josh didn't show up, right? We don't know if anything's going to happen as far as more Asian players not showing up in Hanoi this year. I would guess that there's a possibility that it gets worse to some extent as far as players not showing up at events before it gets better, because this got pretty ugly here over the last, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so nothing at this point kind of surprises me because I thought May, June, I'm thinking, okay, we weathered this already, and little did we know there was still a lot on the horizon that was.
I mean, Hanoi was always lurking in the future as far as this is going to be like I said yesterday, where the rubber hits the road. So, you were hoping that something would kind of work itself out between then and now, but it's not. So, yeah, Hanoi is, just around the corner.
So did you have any other points you wanted to get off your chest yesterday, Mike? Obviously, I didn't.
No. It was good. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I always will go to bat for the players first. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah, I always
like,
advocate.
like,
I've always
yeah,
advocated for the players.
yeah, and that's the way. Like, it gets lost through all this like social media stuff and all these things. You know what I mean? Because like I mentioned at the end of it, I would have loved to see all of these guys go play 8 ball. It's a fun game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's fun seeing them pick apart patterns and seeing the best players and and politics aside, we love pool. So
yeah,
um, something's got to give here. In the meantime, Mike, there is a tournament going on. I haven't been
yeah.
watching a whole lot. Actually, there's 3 tournaments going on. I haven't been watching a whole lot.
I think
Maybe
the
you can kind of
juniors
fill.
just start. I think the juniors start today.
Do they?
Yeah.
They've been there for a while, though, ain't they?
Well, a couple of the juniors are because a couple of them played in the open events, in the
Yeah.
women's, in the open. So, as long as they were there. So they're starting the juniors today. The men is down to the final 16, single from here. A lot of, all the players you'd expect to be in there, Josh and Albin for sure. Other guys who are great 8 ball players historically, Torsten Holman, Darren Appleton, um, you know, 3 Polish players in there, not surprising, although Wojciech's not one of them, Wojciech Spajek, and he's a former world champion, right? Is he 8 ball?
He's a world 10 ball champion, Mike.
10 ball, okay. But he's great. He lost in the semifinals last year to Shane, didn't he? But a great player nonetheless.
He did go late. He did go late last year.
I
Yeah,
think
that's a
the
good
semifinals.
call. Yeah.
So your boy Ryan is in there against Fortunsky.
Here comes the. I just brought it up here, Mike. You guys can check out ProBirdSeries.com. It's very easy to follow, which is great. I mean, it was like 2 clicks,
Yeah,
and I'm
just
already here.
YouTube World Billiard TV, and you'll go right to the matches that are being aired.
The first thing that comes to mind here, Mike, just looking here on the tournament, is there's a chance that Albin and Josh, can be the next Federer and Shane here, Mike. Which listen, we love storylines here, Pinozzo. So
That'll be a good one.
I'll be keeping an eye out there. Let's look at this first round, Mike.
There's
Kind of break.
also 3 Taiwanese players in there, and there's no codes to be found.
That's a surprise as well. You would have lost. You would have lost that bet for sure.
Oh, the codes weren't there.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They were not there. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But I mean, the Taiwanese that did show up, will. And I'm going to jump in here real quick and answer Jason. The International Open is not WPA sanctioned. I spoke to Pat Fleming. It is a World 9-ball Tour ranking event, not WPA sanctioned this year. So the International Open,
it has been in years.
International Open will actually be the first event where banned players will have to make their decision. If they get banned in Hanoi, then it's going to be interesting to see if Hanoi is like the tipping point. Then it's going to be interesting to see if anybody pulls out of the International Open. But I expect the International Open to be full.
Yeah, I do as well. I saw Pat over there at what do you call it, at the U.S. Open, getting signups and things like that. So, yeah, the co point is a good one, Mike, and the reason being is because wasn't Little Co like in the finals of Qatar last year, or was it China Open? Or did he win? Did Danny win one of them?
China Open, I believe.
Yeah. So interesting that they decided to take that stance, especially considering that they benefited quite a bit financially from playing that event. Just looking at the pool here, Mike, up top. This is the single elimination, I'm assuming, from here, Mike. Is that right?
Yeah.
Filler against Roman Heibler, Thorsten Holman against Cheng Jun Lin, Alex the Lion. He's been playing a lot of hay ball lately, Mike, so I'm curious to see how he does in this event. Against Wu Kun Lin, Darren Appleton against Bader. Up top, Mike, who do you like? Who are you hoping for? Who are you rooting for, more importantly?
I think I'm rooting for Darren.
It's a good story.
As an 8-ball player, I'd love to see him get through there. If I had to throw my money, you're throwing it at the top, right? I mean, it's not a hard decision.
Right, for sure. Up top at Joshy there, and he's got a pretty, I want to say favorable area. Cheng Jun Lin's obviously.
Listen, if you're Josh, the whole field was favorable when you got there.
Hey, Mike, you just coming with the heat today, ain't you, Pinozzo? Surprisingly, right when he showed up,
Spade is
he,
spade. That's it, you know.
yeah, it's true. No, listen, from I'm rooting for Josh, ironically enough, to go deep in this event because I love watching him play pool. I don't care
Yeah.
what it is. I don't care if it's straight pool, if it's bank pool, if it's one pocket, if it's 9 ball, 10 ball, whatever. I love watching Josh play. From a storyline standpoint, Darren's obviously great. Alex would be a good one as well, especially Alex because last year I think during the 8 ball he was injured, if I remember right, and then he was forced to forfeit, and he was on a little bit of a tear during that event, and so I'd love to see him go deep or
Mhm.
further, I should say. But Wu Kun Lin is no walk in the park by any means.
No,
Um, isn't Cheng Jin Lin a former world 8 ball champion, Mike? Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't remember which one he won. I think you might be right.
I think he was.
Yeah.
Down below, you got Conrad and Pius, Ryan Su against Misko Fortunsky, Albin Ocean and Marco Tucher, and then you got Snagaki versus Alex Kazakis. I'll ask you the same question down below, Mike. Who do you like coming out of the bottom half?
Um, you know, I, I'd like to see Ryan Sue go through there. I mean, it would be fun. You know, be fun to have an Asian player in the final. If you got a a Josh or someone in the top half of it. If I had to pick the favorite on the bottom, man, that's a tough call. That's a really tough call. I mean,
A lot of these Europeans play
we keep
great
waiting for
8 ball.
Pius. We keep waiting for Pius to make his move, and maybe this is where he does it.
Well, I think he's already made his move, Mike. I mean, he kind of did it like a Mickey Krause at the first half of the year, and maybe it was Mickey before Mickey was Mickey. But he's he's been super consistent over the last really the last 9 months plus.
Yeah,
I
no,
wouldn't be
no doubt
surprised to
about
see
it.
him
I'm waiting for him to break through. I mean, to get over the hump.
snap off one. He's got a good break. He runs balls very well.
Yeah,
But that area of the bracket that he's in with two Polish players and then Ryan Sue is brutal if you're PS. I mean, you could literally make arguments for either one of those guys, and I wouldn't blink an eye. Down below at the bottom, while I'm rooting for the Albin and Josh final to come to fruition, Marco is the guy who upsets everybody at tournaments. And when I say upsets, it's not because he can't play well because he plays great. It's just he beats these like on paper favorites quite a bit whenever he's playing in tournaments
yeah,
like this. We saw it at the U.S. Open a year ago, Mike, when he takes out Shane and broke a lot of hearts there. Kazakis has been showing form lately as well. So
yeah.
will he have a run?
He beat Wojciech on the hill to get here.
Yeah, it's I'll be honest with you, Mike. I haven't watched a lot of the 8 ball up until this point. I was talking about it yesterday as far as the time difference to some extent being favorable to be able to sweat some of these matches. But as I'm turning on online and social media and things like that, Mike, I noticed a lot of like epbf comments and referee comments and missed calls and did you I haven't seen any of this, Mike, so you need to fill me in on what I've been
What
missing
do
out.
I know? I mean, all I know is that Zhu Shenwei got penalized the game for smoking during a break.
How did they know she smoked? Did somebody pull a BJ
I,
Ussery and
I think
follow
she,
her outside?
I think it wasn't a potty break. I think she was outside. She walked outside the arena to pull one down.
I
And
know, but did someone go and follow? Is that what happened?
yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. Did
Or was the ref
someone
was the
rat
ref
her
out
out?
there
Or
having a smoke again?
did someone rat her out, or did the referee follow her out there, or was
I'd
an
be curious.
official out there? Yeah, who knows? Uh, yeah, no, it's you know,
Fair or a bit like, come on, you think, Mike?
well, we've been through these tournaments before where they're using EPBF referees and where they're using these rules that they're all in
Yellow
print.
card.
They're all in print, but they're all really out there, and not everybody reads the rules for the fine print to find out that I'm not looking for the rule that says, "Can I have a smoke during my break?" If as long as I'm not taking more time than I need, who would even think to look that up? Yes, Jenny M brought up Cheska showing her ankle skin last at a tournament before.
Get her out of here.
It's like,
Get her
really,
out of here.
this is what we gotta. Yeah, Jim said it's in the rules, so it's fair. Yeah, of course it's in the rules and it's fair. I just think that a lot of these rules are different from tournament to tournament, and expecting these people from all over the world to read the fine print that says you can't smoke a cigarette is kind of, it's in the rule, but explain to me why it's in the rule. I'm really curious about that.
Oh, you mean like the logic behind it? I can tell. I
Yeah.
know for sure it's been in the rules because I remember going back in February when all this like yellow card bullshit was going on, looking in there and seeing that rule in particular about smoke breaks. And I'll be honest with you, Mike, I'm not dropping any dimes here, okay? But there was a lot of players that were taking smoke breaks out at the Rio during their player timeout, and no one was there throwing them under the bus. I'm just saying, I don't know how this
Smoking
happened.
police.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck there. Cell phones is a part of it as well. You can't be on your cell phone or things like that. I don't know why it's there, Mike. You if I would say give them a block of time, and if you go over it, kind of like how Sky did, right? Then you get penalized a game or whatever it may be.
Time
Then
limit,
that.
sure. Time limit, sure. But
Look at that. As I mentioned, Sky. There goes Sky in the chat there talking about yellow cards. His ears were burning there. But it's funny because and it's a little ridiculous, but I get if you're gonna be a stickler, right? And a rule is a rule. But if I'm her, and this is just me, talking out loud here, like I mentioned a second ago, but how the hell did they know she was outside having a smoke break? You know? Like how ridiculous is that, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I mean, rules are rules, and you got to follow rules. But I would love to take that rule book and put some stuff in it that people just wouldn't even believe, and just call them on it, just for the sake of doing it. You can't wear yellow with green under any circumstances.
There was some other posts that I seen or comments here in the chat whenever we started the show about fouls being missed or fouls being called. Mike, I haven't watched a whole lot.
We saw the one with Beato on his kick shot that was clearly a foul. And the funny thing about it was that it was a post by the promoters, showing everybody in the world what a great shot Beato just made.
They just want to look past the fact that he hit that other ball first because it hit that other ball first.
Moved a little bit, yeah. I mean that's not, yeah. It was funny.
Yeah, you know what? Like, how do you have your head under the sand this much? And listen, the kick shot from Carlo was great, but
it was a really cool shot.
It was a really great shot, no doubt about it. But like, it was a foul for sure, And so, like, if you celebrate it like that, at least be honest about what happened there. Again, I didn't know if the guy continued his run in Carlo or not, And these I saw another reel earlier where it looked like the girl clearly hit a ball in clean, and then they called a foul on that shot as well. But I don't understand with technology how things like that go and happen. Now, before the event started, I remember seeing a lot of posts online where they were, training these refs kind of last minute, and they were going through some training, and it's a bit, I don't want to say unfair, but it's like you're on TV, you're on a stream table, like utilize technology to your advantage there to where you get the calls right. I wonder, do they got any kind of appeal option there if you're a player, Mike, when it comes to stuff like that? Is that in any of those rules?
I'm sure it's in there someplace. Jim Telford, let us know. Is it in there someplace? And are these rules that they're using epbf rules, WPA rules? I'm not 100% sure.
What were they in the Rio, Mike? Because this is whenever, like, at least American fans first got introduced to these yellow cards and things like that.
I was assuming that because they're world championships, they're WPA rules, right? So yeah. I don't have a WPA rule book handy, so but I'm gonna add some stuff to it.
If anyone can make a recommendation that'll be taken seriously, it's you, Mike. That's for sure.
A lot of players been called out lately too on fouls that they don't call on themselves. You
Well, we
know,
saw that ironically enough with Josh at the U.S. Open.
with Josh, you
So
see, with Carlo there. I mean, you think tell me Carlo didn't see the seven or whatever that ball was kind of roll a little bit, wobble. So a lot of players getting
what do you
called
feel
out.
about that, Mike?
Well, listen, if I feel every player, if you see that it was a foul, you call a foul on yourself, no matter how the circumstance, whatever it is. But am I going to say it's impossible that a guy doesn't see it or saw it differently? I'm not. I'm not going to sit there and call him a liar. So you're saying, well, this guy's got a reputation for that guy. This guy doesn't have a reputation for it. Therefore, we're going to give him a break. Whatever. It's all speculative, and I'd rather be naive and find out that I was wrong than to be cynical and find out I was wrong. And I hate to call a player a liar and find out that he wasn't lying. So it's just they're just weird little things. What do you think about players calling fouls on themselves?
I mean, you can take that like, you know, holier than thou approach, right? And everyone should be honest and play with, you know, play with honor and all those things. And I get that, of course, right? We want to see things, but like as someone who loves sports, and Mike, you love all sports, right? There's gamesmanship in all kinds of sports, you know.
Well,
Um,
gamesmanship and cheating are two different things.
well, but like if you I guess it's like, listen, if I slide in there to second base and I feel like I was safe and was out or whatever, I mean, I can see it be along those same lines, but they utilize technology to make that decision. You know what I mean? So like you have it there in the arena, utilize it, but like if a player's playing dumb, right? I'm not in their mind or to know like did I feel something? Did I not feel something? I mean, some things are more obvious than others. But like when you start having consistencies, that's when you start building reputations. You know what I mean? Of being a shithead, and with everything being online more than ever and accessible, and people can slow it down, and then they take to forums with frame by frame, zoomed in replays and whatever. I think it can get you know a little ridiculous at times. I feel like if I'm in the moment and you've never been there, I've never been there. I'd imagine though there's some like adrenaline rush, and they're kind of like flying high there when they're competing on the table. You know what I mean? So like, who am I
Yeah,
to say if they feel this or they feel that or whatever? But like, if things are obvious, right? I think then they ought to at least the opponent, right, should have the ability to say, hey, like, in basketball, right, when they want to use the replay, they get, what is it? They get one. And if they mess up, then they're done with it. If they prove that it was right, then they get the challenge back again.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like, why can't we utilize something like that when you have
Yeah, so
missed
many
call?
matches now are televised or streamed, or there's enough of a
Yeah.
camera to be able to see some of this stuff. But some are really, really, minuscule. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's it's not something that's going to ever like completely go away.
Yeah.
Just it doesn't in any sport, So, um, yeah,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like if you're playing on TV table, you kind of have to be aware that you're going to get, scrutinized, but at the same time, referees are there to do their job as well. Like if you're playing in a football or basketball, just go back to that example. If I step on the out of bounds line, it's the referee who calls me out, you know? So,
yeah, right, yeah, yeah,
and so there has to be some accountability in doing their job, from that standpoint. I would hate to see these players, and it's listen, if it's part of what is deciding matches, or swaying their mental approach, maybe going into a second set or the rest of the whatever. Like, I would hate to see these players wait all year to play in a world championship, right, whether you're male or female, and to have something like this decided, especially considering how much you're in it financially and the prestige of the event, because these are big events, right? It's not like you're playing in the, you know, Tennessee Open or something. You know, these are world championships. So I
No
think you
offense
have
to the Tennessee Open.
no. We're not here to offend anyone from Tennessee for sure. Not intentionally anyway. But it's like, listen, you got cameras out there, you got the room decked out, at least on the TV table, right? So like, use it. I would say.
Well, I mean, someone, I didn't see it. Someone posted that Sale got called for a foul and contested it, and the referee wouldn't look at a replay. So
Wow.
So then
Really?
he wasn't following the rules because Jim Telfer says that you are allowed to request that they look at a replay. So,
but this is where, like, if you're the players, what are your options, Mike? Sue them. Good luck. Yeah, good luck with that one, right? Yeah, we know how that's gonna end up. Now that's the part that's unfortunate. And like, listen, just like you can call out whoever about doing the right thing, right? Promoters or guys who are there behind the camera, or if you're the tournament director or whatever, like there's enough going on social media wise and with cameras where like, right? So like, go back and fix it, do the right thing as well. And it can be fair to call them out on that, with the same hand, Mike. So I'll probably be tuning in going into the weekend, although I'm going to be getting on a flight tomorrow in the morning, but hopefully I can watch some good 8-ball and good 9-ball. The quality of the field seems to be getting better. Who's left in the women's event, Mike? Because I haven't seen it. I know when I checked the scoreboard the other day, I saw
the women's down to, they're down to losers qualification. So winners qualification, Sylviana Liu, Seming Chen, Cheska, Christina.
Class field there, Mike.
Chikach, Amber Chen, Sasha Liu, Muramatsu, and Kelly Fisher have all qualified for the final 16 already. So in the losers qualification, you've got Seo Seo, Christina Slateva, Jasmine, Pia, Rubelin Amit, Rita Chow, Wei Wei, Allison Fisher, Bean Hung. So, good, a lot of good players.
A lot of usual suspects there too, Mike.
The elite are still there. Margaret Pepelova. So, the players you would expect to be in that fight for the final 16 are still in it.
I love seeing this like cast of characters of great women who have been doing this for a while, and like the Kelly and Allisons and Jasmines of the field. And then I love seeing these like young female European players who you feel like their time is coming, and you've seen them kind of like over the last, year and a half, 2 years, just take these little steps. And can they, and it's very similar to the men, right? You see it with like, the guys who are playing on the Mosconi Cup for Team Europe versus these young kids who are coming on their heels. I'd love to see Tkach get into a final, especially and showing some form.
Christina Zlateva. I mean, those are all young players who are like nipping at the heels. They're a little closer every time you look at it, a little closer. You see Christina Tkach break through. So yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time. So a lot of great young talent in this tournament for sure. A lot of great talent.
Pia was in a final 3, I think, of the China Open last year, or final 4, if I'm not mistaken. So, she was playing well a year ago. Also, you can go down and there's a lot of like great scenarios or matchups, and there already is it's from what it sounded like. But it just makes the how the event's going to finish that much more important to watch.
Yeah, I'm definitely watch the last 16 here once they get to the quarterfinals. Now I don't know how the if the matches change lengthwise, if they're going to go to best of 5 sets at all, like they did with the men. But it'd be interesting to see. There'll be some great matches, that's for sure.
You guys can check out Prob TV and sweat all the matches. I'd imagine that there'll be more and more. I think from what I've seen, players have been allowed to stream their own matches, which is cool. They also got, from at least what I saw, at least 2 tables being streamed, Mike, on that Prob TV.
World Player TV, yeah.
World Player TV. So you guys can go check that out. We'll try to. Mike, are you available at all in the next few days by chance?
as luck would have it, I am.
Okay. I'll be in Vegas, but I'll try to
Yeah,
bring. I'll have my computer and a phone, so maybe we can figure something out and try to go live. So,
we get Collins on a show. Is Collins going to
oh,
be there? Is
Collins
Collins
will be there. I'm going to see my man. I'm going to see
you
my
live
man
stream?
tomorrow
You
night.
live stream your match?
We are. Well, here's the deal. So, like, I talk a lot of shit to Collins all the time, and you guys, if you follow the show or Post Up, you know that. And by the way, check out Post Up for the Lucasi West Coast Tour this weekend out at Griff's. But I've been like begging Collins to play since I got my ass handed to me, like however long ago it was, right? And but I've had this like nagging wrist injury since like January, February,
Here we
Mike, of
go.
this year.
Here we
I,
go.
I'm just full disclosure here, okay? And so, but over the last like 2 months, for the first time in like probably 20 years, I haven't really wanted to play pool a whole lot, Mike. You know, so I went the other day to go hit some balls. It was awful. So my confidence is not that high. Although when my confidence was high, I got embarrassed. So who knows how the match is going to turn up? It's going to be fun though.
You can
I
get
think
in
we're going to be.
Collins' head,
Oh, that's the only chance I got for sure. You know, there'll be a lot of shit talking, no doubt about it. I'm gonna be pestering him. I think we're gonna be mic'd up as well. So check out Post Up. The plan is to play on Friday night. I'm not taking a cue. I don't think he's taking a cue, so we're just gonna grab some Lucasi cues and play. That favors me, Mike, because Collins is like very nerdy, and I got to play with my, it's got to be a certain ounce shaft and tip and whatever.
You both have to
So
play with a house cue.
I don't mind playing off the wall. Collins knows that. He knows I don't mind playing off the wall, especially against him. So, anyway, don't forget to check out the live stream. Post Up. It's going to be free this weekend. Check out the World Championships that are going to be finishing up as well. Mike, I appreciate you for coming on. We're going to have a lot of fun, and maybe we can do some more follow